Introduction. A great discovery. One of the greatest discoveries in the field of psychic therapeutics and healings was made when Phineas Quimby discovered that by hypnotizing a patient, he could not only diagnose the particular mental or physical ill from which the patient was suffering, but could also talk him out of it. His second great discovery was that he had within himself the power and spiritual ability to diagnose the illness and heal the patient while he was in full possession of all his faculties. Furthermore, the patient always emerged from the experience in improved mental as well as physical health. Quimby's treatment was simple but effective. Sitting quietly beside his patient and not allowing him to utter a word, Quimby would say something like this: "Now, as a matter of fact, you are a spiritual being. You are made out of God, out of pure spirit. You are really perfect, but you are ignorant of your own perfection. You represent the man of ignorance, and I represent the man of wisdom. The man of ignorance goes around surrounded by his opinions, most of us which are false. I can see all these opinions. I enter these opinions and explain that they are false. I see also that you do not need to die, for disease is externalization of thought. The stuff out of which you are made is fluid in its original state, and it can just as well be in perfect shape as it is imperfect. You are surrounded by the opinions of the clergy, the doctor, and friends. You are afraid that you are going to die. It is all a mistake." Through this method, Quimby healed hundreds, and his answer to the curious was always this: "My explanation is my cure." Let us turn now to another and more recent discovery made by an eminent medical man in Europe, a discovery that is the basis of the theories presented in this book and in its companion volume, Talk Yourself Into It. This doctor, discovering that a patient desired greatly to talk to him about herself, allowed her to recite her troubles to him. She talked for days, and as she talked, he discovered that she was gradually getting well. She was talking the disease out of herself. Putting two and two together, this man made up his mind that he had hit upon a great truth. At this moment, one of the greatest discoveries ever made in the medical profession had its origin. The doctor in question decided that this woman, in talking to him, had unburdened herself of the thing that was causing her sickness. From that discovery came the science that we call analytical psychology. This book is the metaphysical adaptation of that principle. If talks between two persons can produce such wonderful results, conversations between the conscious and subconscious mind, talking to oneself, can produce even greater results, for the entire action takes place within and upon the mind of the one given the treatment. If the soul is the medium between God and man, between heaven and earth, between the absolute and the relative, and if all the inhibiting, disturbing, entangled ideas that affect the body originate in the soul, we can unquestionably change the effect or action of the law by changing the subjective causes, by talking them out of ourselves. This is no hit-or-miss method. It is a definitive technique for dislodging any belief in the subconscious mind that denies the greater blessing, and for replacing it with the belief that accepts all good as the rightful heritage of the child of God. Chapter 1. Talking to Yourself. What she said to herself was this: Matthew 9:21, Moffat translation. We all talk to ourselves at times, and what we say to ourselves is of the utmost importance. What we say to ourselves is what the world says back to us. Of course, we are affected by what others say to us, but we are influenced much more by what we say to ourselves. Tell me the kind of conversation you habitually hold with yourself, and I will tell you the kind of health, circumstance, and income you have. Tell me how you talk to yourself, and I will tell you what you are now and what you are likely to become. A word fitly spoken, says an ancient seer, is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. Whether we talk to ourselves or to others, our words have the power to build or to destroy, to purify or to pollute, to heal or to kill, to help or to hinder, to enfeeble or to empower. There is no way to measure the endless harm accomplished by the wrong word, nor the endless good accomplished by the right word. The Bible tells us the power of life and death is in the tongue. There are words that have the power to change the whole course of our lives, to revolutionize our careers, to transform our bodies, and to lift us into heaven. There are other words that bind, cripple, weaken, paralyze, despoil, and damn. By thy word, said Jesus, thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. When we realize that we put into the words what is to come out of it, we will speak only words that are wholesome and true. But what do you say when you talk to yourself? Do you talk baby talk? Are you coddling, alibying, pitting, doubting, dividing, isolating, or crippling yourself? Are you lessening your chance of recovery by continually telling yourself that you are sick? Are you taking a double talk, saying one thing with your lips and another thing with your heart? Or are you telling the truth about yourself? Realize now that you have the power to talk yourself out of anything you wish, and start today to exercise the power and dominion of your word. The law of expulsion. You talk yourself into the right things by building a mental equivalent for them, and you talk yourself out of the wrong thing by devitalizing the mental equivalent that are holding them in place. You give substance, power, and form to the right mental equivalent by changing your thought, interest, and attention into it, and you destroy the wrong mental equivalent by changing your thought out of it, withdrawing the attention that gives it power, and by substituting a stronger and more perfect image in its place. You do not attack the wrong mental equivalent frontally with a personal effort, thought, or will. You merely ignore the evil and center yourself in the good. The law of mind says that you can change an evil effect only by changing its cause, and that you can get rid of one mental equivalent only by substituting another. The process is very similar to changing the spark plugs in your car. If a spark plug is causing trouble and disturbing the rhythm and action of the car, you replace it with a good one to restore the perfect functioning of the motor. That is what happens in the subconscious mind when you substitute the right belief or mental equivalent for the wrong one. Harmony and perfection are restored, and life returns to normal. For every effect, there is a corresponding cause. To change the effect, we must first change the cause. There are many ways to change a subjective cause, but the most effective way is by audibly talking yourself out of the troublesome thoughts and beliefs while keeping your thought changed into the new and more perfect image you are seeking to bring forth. It makes no difference how terrifying the appearance or effects may be. The secret of success in expelling the things you do not want is to keep your thought power centered on the things you do want. By persistently thinking right, you build a new mental equivalent that will eventually appear in your life. Subjective formation. Until Christ be formed in you. Galatians 4:19. The real purpose in talking to yourself about the things we want from God is twofold: to disassociate certain beliefs in our minds and to give proper direction to the subconscious self. In other words, we tell ourselves the truth we wish to embody, and then we send them down through our realization into the creative activity of the subconscious mind. To the person unaccustomed to this type of treatment, it may seem difficult, but as in every other worthwhile achievement in life, the more we practice, the easier the process becomes. Choose a suitable time and a place where you'll not be disturbed. Assume the position you use for the silence or meditation. Breathe deeply, normally, evenly, and relax from head to foot until your body no longer makes any demands upon your consciousness. Now discipline the human mind, pressing out of it all thoughts that have no bearing upon the ideal you are seeking to materialize. Hold your mind to the subject in hand as you would hold your ear to the center of a dangerous and narrow road, remembering that the outer mind is capricious, rebellious, and undisciplined. It is like an unruly child who can be made to behave only by much patience, training, firmness, and determination. No matter how the old habits and beliefs may seem to contradict this new mental equivalent, hold persistently to it until it penetrates the subconscious self and gains dominion in your new consciousness. The next two steps are comparatively easy. When you have brought the field of consciousness to the desired condition and centered your mind in God, state the truth which you wish to impress on the subconscious mind in as compact and convincing terms as possible. Then hold it in realization while talking to yourself about it until it forms you a new consciousness of itself. When the idea or statement begins to act upon your consciousness, a great peace or sense of fulfillment will come over you, and you will know that the work has been done. You supply the word, God gives it form. Unthinking. I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. Jeremiah 10:23. When we speak of talking ourselves out of certain undesirable and unwanted things, we really mean unspeaking, unthinking, unlearning, unknowing, and unfeeling them. We spoke thought, learned, and felt them into existence in the beginning by our own wrong relationship to the law, and we are now going to talk them out of existence by establishing the right relationship. By knowing a greater good, we are going to unknow what we have known to our hurt. Very simply stated, the process is that of removing power from evil caused by transferring power to good cause. Power belongeth unto God, said St. Paul. There is only one power, and the only way to use it is through the creative process of man's thought. Yes, man has the sole responsibility for directing this undifferentiated power through his own thoughts. He can do it with it or what he will. He can build health or sickness, sorrow or success, happiness or failure. The real solution of the problem of evil, therefore, is in keeping the power flowing toward good. How shall we do that? By walling off every vestige of the human mind that believes in duality, good and evil, and by living by indirection like the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. In other words, we shall stop thinking by our own volition and think by the volition of God. We shall not only cast down imaginations and bring into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, but we shall keep only constructive, positive, and life-giving thoughts flowing through our minds. Realizing our failure to bring out anything good through human thinking, we shall live by unthinking, that is, without effort, anxiety, or strain. We shall refuse to turn our thought outward toward the senses, opinions, theories, or doctrines of men. We shall behold the kingdom of God in all its beauty and loveliness. But what of the human mind? That will go on thinking just the same, but God will think through it. Like the unthinking lobster that grows a new claw whenever he needs one, we shall have every new need supplied automatically. When? When we become unthinkers, when we let God do our thinking for us and meet every demand of the outer world by saying to ourselves, "Be still and know that I am God." What I can do with me. If two of you shall agree as touching anything they shall ask, it shall be done for them of the Father. Matthew 18:19. The reason you can talk with yourself is because there are two of you, an inner man and an outer man, a spiritual man and a material man, an I and a me. Welded together in a union from which there is no escape, the two selves forever keep one from running away from himself, for the I always follows and catches up with the me. One of the greatest problems we all have to face is how I can live harmoniously and successfully with me, how I can come to terms with myself. All achievements on the outer plane depends upon the individual's success in synchronizing the two selves. If I and me are not in perfect agreement, discord and unhappiness appear. If I and me are pulling in opposite directions, there is no centrality or direction in one's life. He is at the mercy of every wind that blows. Psychiatrists recognize the danger of disintegration. The victim of a split personality is powerless against the demands of the objective world. Until harmony is restored within, there can be no semblance of peace and security in his environment. On the contrary, the man who has established peace within himself, whose life is unified or integrated, can meet danger and disaster triumphantly. Let us turn to the Scriptures to see what I can do with me. St. Paul said, "Put off the old man, me, and put on the new man, I, which is Christ." Said Jesus, "I, if I be lifted up, will draw all men or manifestations unto me." In other words, we must think and live outside ourselves by thinking and living with God. One who is tired and strain, sickness, trouble, limitation, can be born anew by keeping the I and the me in perfect agreement with God, by telling himself constantly that this unity has been achieved, and by living as if it were so. So said St. Paul, "I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me."